we're here again with Soul to Soul podcast, and today we wanted to have just a quick sit-down session and talk to you guys about some of the things that's been coming up and happening for us lately. We actually have a lot of new and different things in the works for our mediumship businesses, and probably will be launched or get known to you guys around like December, January 2025. So we're excited to give little sneak peeks and keep you guys updated with all of the big news coming with that. But we did have something we wanted to talk about today. We just had one of our biggest events this last weekend at Salerno's Pizzeria and Sports Bar. It was a mediumship demonstration gallery where Carol and I connected to loved ones on the other side for a group of 60 plus people. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about what demonstration of mediumships are and what to expect, and if you should go to one, if it would be right to you, or if you're interested. We do one at Natural Healing Centers in Orland Park, Illinois, about once a month, and that one is a little bit smaller of a group session, so you do get more of an opportunity to receive a reading from your loved one on the other side. But with galleries, not everybody is able to receive a reading. We just go to select people during the hour and a half, 2 hour time period. But let's get right into explaining what galleries are. So when did you start doing like demonstration of mediumships? Because I just counted back after the Salerno's event. I counted back, and I've only been doing the live events since May was our first one. I was like, oh my God.
May of this year?
Yes.
No way.
Yes, that was our first one at Natural Healing Centers. It was our first one together, but it was my very first live event. Yeah. So, but you've been doing it, you've been practicing it for definitely a few years, right?
Forever, yeah. So when I was in classes, that was a big thing that my teachers learned from the UK, actually, from Arthur Finley and stuff. They do a lot of demonstrations like that. So I made it a point to do them. I think we did them weekly, practice though. Mm-hmm. And that was years ago, like probably 10 years ago. And then I've done a handful with a couple other mediums, just smaller ones, 20 people, the max. So for me, it's about standing up there and talking in front of people. I get very anxious, and I'm very in my head until I'm literally connected. In the moment. Yeah. Once I'm connected, it's great. But it's exhausting working myself, but I've gotten better. That's why I like to do them monthly. Yeah. And we suggested that, and it's pretty much for my nerves, not for the connection. The connection always is there. All that happens, but
that is one thing that I didn't realize is how exhausting that event was going to be on Friday night. Because with the galleries we've had before, like we said, they've been a little bit smaller. And I'm usually pretty exhausted the next day, but having a 2 hour full event plus the entire like day lead up and setting up before the event and stuff, I was out the whole next day, and I was not expecting that. Like I physically just wanted to like lay in bed and do nothing. My mind was tired. My physical body was tired. It wasn't like hurting too bad. It was more just like this mental exhaustion that I wasn't experiencing. And I know that comes with time, and with mediumship, it's an ability that you learn to develop over time, and it gets stronger, and you get more like mental endurance with it. I really do believe that.
I think so, but I think too, for me, same. I made sure I took the next day off. And my son asked if we could babysit. They went to dinner that evening, and they would have come over then and watched the fight, and they stayed till 1 a.m. But so I held the baby for like 8 hours on the couch. So I didn't leave the couch, so I don't consider that doing anything. Yeah. But I did take the day off because I prepared for it, but me too. I was more exhausted. I'm still, to be honest, it's Monday, and the event was Friday night, and I'm still exhausted. I don't know. It could be many things, I think. And a lot of times I think it's because of our lifestyle too, what we have going on in our own personal lives, on top of our own jobs and our, me having children and wanting to be there for everyone. Like, it's a lot.
Well, but that's what I feel like a lot of people don't realize, and I feel like I'm starting to realize it more the more and more that I, do this work full time, is that it is the same as a full-time job. Even though the event was only 2 hours at night, there was so much like mental and emotional like preparation that happens beforehand. We have to make sure that our energies are like centered and connected to ourselves, or we're not like overthinking, or we're not thinking about 20 different things, or like we have to make sure we're very grounded and we're taking care of our physical body, our emotional body. So there's so much that goes into being able to connect with the spirit world and be able to be such a clear channel.
We both had a smoothie bowl. That was it. Yeah. And that was at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So by the event at 7 o'clock. So yeah, it's all of that. And I've told you this many times. Wayne Dyer would always say he gets paid by the thought. So he would walk the ocean. He would hurry up, rush his kids to school so he could go to work. But work was the ocean, taking a brisk walk and just letting his mind be in the moment. And it's so true with this work. I think it's a mind mess sometimes, because we think, oh, I only have 2 clients today, or I only have 4 clients today. And we think I only did 4 hours worth of work, that we should have, like, we have a half a day off. But again, everything, even for the event, for our day-to-day clients, like it's all part of it. And I just wanted to talk about, like, before big events and stuff. I don't know if other mediums are like this, but I don't like to eat a lot. Like, I even would like to fast as much as I could prior to the event. And for me, I feel like it's more just feeling not so weighed down. And that is a whole nother conversation that we can talk about, with like just the things in our foods and chemicals, preservatives, the heaviness, whether you eat meat or not. We don't eat meat. But I know in one of my first classes, my teacher taught, do not eat red meat before like readings or connecting with the spirit world, just because it has a heavier energy to it. It's more grounded, which is the opposite of what you're trying to do with the spirit world. But that's why like light foods and stuff, I feel like helps me feel lighter, and it's, for whatever reason, it feels easier to connect. Yeah, so, I agree.
We're still recuperating though, but I do feel better, definitely. I think Saturday was the main day. I was just taken out a little bit. It was just my first big one, and
so let's talk about what happened at the event and how I know we learned a lot. We always do. We learned
to go with the flow.
To what we want to say beforehand, because we left some things out that would have ended up happening. So we may have talked about this before on the podcast, I'm not sure, but piggybacking and in a group event. So in a group event, Spirit World knows, just like a private, there's 2 hours, and they want to touch as many souls as possible.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit to what a mediumship group event is, and then we'll get into manifesting, just for people who have no clue what it is. It's a group reading, like Carol said, where everybody is sitting in the audience in a group, and me and Carol will one-on-one individually start to bring through evidence from a loved one on the other side. So we just start by tuning in and asking somebody's loved one to come forward. Then we'll get a couple pieces of information about that loved one. So it could be ways on how they would have passed or things that would have contributed to their passing. It can be initials, names, dates, numbers that would all be significant or connected to them. Anything that would help us to figure out whose loved one it is and who the healing message goes to.
Mm-hmm. And then at that point, they would raise their hand, and if it made sense. So typically, one person would raise their hand. Sometimes 2 or 3 people raise their hand, because we always say if you could take about 80%, I think is what we say. So maybe we say the name Joe, but every other 4 pieces of evidence connected, but Joe didn't connect. And so we still tell them to raise their hand. Then what we do, there's 3 people with their hands raised. Then we ask the spirit world, give us something unique that, so then we'll bring in another name or an ailment, and then we'll go to that person. And then once we make that connection with that person, we always tell the people to continue listening, because there could still be a message there for them, especially the ones that have raised their hand. But even beyond that, these messages are really for everybody in the room. Like, we could be going to one person, but with the evidence and the connection, but a lot of times the message itself, if you're sitting in the room and something connects to you and you feel like, oh my God, that sounds like my life, or that sounds like what I'm going through, then it really is for you too.
And that's where I want to start too, because that's where we say, like, the universe and the spirit world always knows what they're doing. So they know before any of us who that group of people is going to be for that event.
I wish we would be able to be privy to that sometimes with them. But, but sometimes we're just as surprised. And it's after the event, we're like, oh, wow, see how they did that? And then we analyze the themes and
But so everybody who is supposed to be in that room is going to be in that room, and everything really is connected. So like Carol was saying, if there is another message that we're giving to somebody else, but for whatever reason you get chills or you feel connected to this reading, we always say to take what resonates for you, because you are just as much connected to your own energy, and you have to learn how to trust those feelings and trust that if you're hearing something that feels like you need to be hearing it, listen to that for sure. But like Carol was saying, so multiple people can have their hands raised in the beginning, and what she was going to talk about was what piggybacking is, because that kind of leads right into it. Because
this personal event, we had people not raise their hand. They were more, which is interesting, because you're standing our first big event on the stage, and we're like, okay, nobody. Who am I talking to?
Well, that's always interesting too, and I don't think that might be a little separate than piggybacking, because I feel like with people, it's not that they didn't raise their hand, it's just that they took a really long time. But it was so weird, because it was like 1 to 3 minutes in between where we're giving the information, and nobody wanted to raise their hand. But then at the end, it was so crazy, because like half of the people came up to us and said, I thought this message was for me. I thought this message was for me. Like,
and then they started telling us all the names and whatever we set up there. They started telling us, December goes with it. My name is this. And I'm like, why didn't you go up there?
Well, so and I think it was just the setup a little bit, because we were supposed to have wireless mics where we could run the mic to the audience member. For whatever reason, that wasn't able to happen, so we improvised, and the person actually had to get out of their seat and like walk.
Yeah, which I would be totally nervous to do that.
Right.
I would not want to walk all the way up to the stage to talk in front of all those people. It's hard enough,
Yeah. So I'm sure that could have been a little bit of people's hesitance with raising your hand, but it was just really interesting to see, and that's where people were asking us, like, I thought, like, this one, they, like, it all connected, but then this other lady came up. So can there be two messages, for one person? And that's exactly what piggybacking is. What I explained is when we're in that beginning stage, before we've connected to who the message is for, when we're just bringing through the evidence, that's when the most of the piggybacking happens, because there are so many loved ones there. And so Spirit is gonna bring through, like I said, everyone who is supposed to be there. So Spirit knows how to work their way to make sure that, like, two similar loved ones can be there, so that this person can also get a message, even if I'm going to this person, if that makes sense to you guys. If it doesn't, totally leave more questions about it, and we can definitely go into it. But
just that they thought, did we miss our message?
Yeah.
That's, again, why we kind of try to explain to listen to the message even.
Yes. That's what I was going to say.
Which they are at that point, because they're already thinking, well, that's my mom's name. That they already think it sounds like them and someone else is up there.
But that's what I was going to say is, once that one person goes up there, once that person someone has the mic, then our energy is more honed in on that specific person. So it's going to be more personalized to their energy, to their loved ones. Things are going to get more specific and more unique to their loved ones passing, or what their loved ones need to say, essentially. But still listen, because there could be a message there for you as well, because our loved ones want to come through any way they can in the short amount of time that they have with us.
This was the gallery with the most, I think, that came up after saying, I think that was for me. I think that I was like, I heard it a lot that day. And maybe just because there was more people, I'm thinking. Because I know I've been to Teresa Caputo, quite a few times, and I for sure felt a connection and she didn't go to me, or she'd go right behind me. I was like, no, that was for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But why? Let's talk about why someone would want to go to a group event. This one was more at like a pizzeria sports bar, so I know a lot of people, it was just a fun night out for them. It was an experience, something for them to experience, but also, have fun with a group of friends. But what's different between a group event, a mediumship demonstration, and like a one-on-one reading is the mediumship events are more like, I would say they definitely don't get as deep as the one-on-one personal readings, but I do feel like it's a great way for you to experience how a medium reads without maybe fully committing to a one-on-one reading just yet.
So I've been to several. I don't know how many you've been to. Yeah, at church, remember at church they used to do that demonstration.
Only like 9 or 10 though, so I don't really remember.
Well, I've been to several. Thomas John, I've gone to several of his as well. And for me, I equate it to church because, and not in the religious sense of church at all. I used to go to church as a kid with my mom, and I went throughout, like even when my kids were younger, and I never really resonated with church itself or a lot of the stuff, but I like the homily. I like when the priest would tell a personal story. And then I loved the way I feel, though. I would walk out of church and I wanted to love everybody. I was just always filled with so much love, and that's what I equated to, because I go to galleries and I never expect a message, because I always want one, though, I know it's up to spirit. I know if it's meant, if I'm going to get one, I'm going to get one. So I don't really beg my loved ones or anything. I just show up. But the miracles that you're able to witness, so that, we can receive a miracle, and then witnessing a miracle is just as powerful, in my opinion. And when you see someone who has received a connection. And I don't know, you just like,
Yeah.
it's almost like you are, because there's so much love, and you're like, oh, that poor, you know, look at that woman. I'm so glad this person came through for them. Looks like they really needed it. Or, but it's the love, I feel like, in that group. So it is different than a one-on-one, absolutely. But it's an experience in itself. I love them personally. Yeah. To go to them. I love doing them too. I just get nervous.
I was going to say, like, that whole perspective that you just shared, I do feel like it might be a perspective. I feel that same way too, but I was just thinking, like, well, even like when I was little and I would go to them, I would just get sad that I didn't get a reading. Obviously, you know, I was little. I wasn't able to tune into that experience, that perspective. But there very well could be people who leave there feeling like disappointed or upset that, you know, they didn't get a reading, because like in that event on Friday, it was 2 hours long and we went to about 9 people out of the 60 people, which was a lot for us. And each reading is about like 10 to 12 minutes. But I feel like it's totally normal to maybe feel a little, you know, sad or disappointed. But like you said, it is just a perspective. And if you can focus on that feeling of what you just witnessed, that's why I love the way I end our galleries, because I always say,
I just want to say, at the same time, even if you're a little disappointed you didn't get a message or something, like you said, I used to leave church, the healing church I went to, because they brought in messages, and I used to always want a message, and always, so I could connect to that too. Yeah. But I really believe with all my heart, just like every readings, I know this, Spirit has shared this with me, but I actually know it. I believe, and I set my attention before every gallery or every reading, I really believe that that people's hearts are more open when they leave something like that. And again, I'm going to say, because of the love in the room, sure, maybe some may leave disappointed, but they'll always remember that feeling.
But there's some people that I feel like could put a lot of pressure on those like group events, or what, you know, it means. Like, they're like, okay, you better show up today. If you're around me, then you better, like, I better get a reading today. And then they leave and they don't get a reading, and they're like, where was my loved one, you know? But that's why I feel like that perspective that you're sharing is so important, is to see it that way. Because, and that's what I was going to say, I love how I end our galleries, because I always say something like, even if you weren't able to receive a reading today, we hope that they leave there feeling with a deeper understanding of how the spirit world works and of how your loved ones connect with you, so that you can take all of that home and begin to, you know, incorporate into your own life with your own connection with your loved one on the other side. And
that's
your own
what
journey.
I mean, like their heart open from all of it, even from the words we teach at the end, in the beginning. And I, like I said, I think that everyone leaves with something. I really do. And then it's, you know, it might not be a reading from us or a message from us, but it's their own message when they leave. It's
their own understanding.
Yeah, I feel like a door opens.
No, yeah, I don't disagree at all. I definitely agree. I was just sharing that other perspective. If maybe someone who is really heavy
My
in their
mom
grief
would have been like that, 100%. Like I've given her, like, you know, so many signs and proof with pictures and more than that, and right to her, and she would not receive it in front of my eyes. And that was because of a lot of her pain and a lot of her she even told me one time, well, why can't they come to me? Well, tell them to stop coming to you and come to me. I'm like, Mom.
No, but that is how a lot of people feel, and that's where that topic comes in that we've talked about, of just learning how to work through your grief, honor yourself, and all of that, because all of that inner work throughout, you know, learning through your grief, moving through it, and working through it, all of that stuff that happens when you do that, helps your loved ones to be able to show up for you and connect with you more and more.
And I've been doing this work for 14 years now. And just recently, really, in the last several years, 3 years maybe, I don't know. Well, because my mom died almost 4 years ago. And I'm not a huge dreamer. And my family, my brothers, my sisters, would have dreams. And I would be, it would still hurt. It would still feel like, well, why do they get a dream? Like, Mom, you see what's going on down here. I'm doing all this work to try to connect for all these people, for myself, like all this stuff. Like, you can't even come to me in a dream. So I understand that feeling too. But just recently, I was able to shift that perspective in the last couple years. And I love when my family has a dream now, because I do take it as if I had the dream. I do know that that I couldn't receive it, whether it's I'm going through too much stuff and so when I go through things in my personal life, sometimes that grief is closer to me. Even though I've worked on it, healed lots of grief with my mom, with my loved ones, but then it seems to creep up a little bit, whether it's I allow, either way. So then, like I said, now I could receive it from my family. I just know that I'm in, whatever is going on in my life, that I'm not as open or energetically to receive a dream that,
So that's why if you're going to a mediumship, event, a group event, really just be open, because even if the medium doesn't go to you directly, there's still other ways that you can receive a message. You just have to be open enough to understanding and know that your loved one can come through in other ways, or through piggybacking with another reading or whatever. And that's why it's just as important, the energy that you bring to the table and the openness that you come with when you go to a group reading, because like you said, it has the potential to be something for every single person in the room, and every single person in the room has the potential to leave with a sense of openness, a sense of love, a sense of connection. You just have to kind of see how you can tune into that energy and that perspective to be able to receive something from that event, whether or not you get a reading or not.
It reminds me of, I would always say that like the Bible. I haven't read the Bible or anything, but how it's there for everybody. It's up to us to open it, and to explore what it means for us, So, and that's faith to me. That's why I say the Bible, but faith, God, because it is so different to all of us, but it is there. So it's coming from us, what we're willing to shift our perspective or open up to, or whatever it is that we. Yeah.
And I think the group events are really good too, to just strengthen your belief in the spirit world, because it really is such a magical event to see even the other connections that are being made, the other evidence that comes through, and what the person that's receiving the reading is able to take, or the healing message that they're able to see. I feel like, just like you were saying, being able to watch that from an outsider's point of view can be such a beautiful and empowering thing to really affirm in your head that your loved ones are with you, and they're connecting with you, and they're watching over you as well. You just have to almost not get stuck in your own stuff a little bit, to be able to really step into that perspective and feel empowered and connected from it, I feel like. But so like we said, we do those group events about once a month. We sometimes do them more than once a month. I mean, we have some coming up in the city of Chicago. We have more intimate 8-person experience ones where everybody is guaranteed a reading. We do those as well. those are always really fun because even with those, there's always a theme that you'll see with the healing messages, or you'll always see how everybody who is in that room is supposed to be in that room for a reason. Now, compared to like the one-on-one readings that we offer, I do feel like our one-on-one readings are way more obviously personalized, but they go way deeper, I feel like, with the healing messages. So if you're somebody who is looking for that deeper healing, that deeper message, that deeper evidence, whatever it is, that's where we would probably recommend the one-on-one reading, just because, like we said, it's way more for you, and it's also a safer space. Your soul feels safer. In that big group, you don't want, all of your stuff being shared with 60 plus people,
and it doesn't. At the same time, that is a fear people have. And my English teachers shared with me a long time ago, like, spirit world will never embarrass you in front of someone. They will, because some people think like we could see their deep dark secrets or something, and like they're gonna just put it all out there, but then that doesn't happen.
Well, that's why the one-on-one readings are so different. Like, don't think that if you received a one-on-one reading, it's gonna be just like that in a group reading, because you're right. The things that are gonna come through are supposed to come through, but there's not gonna be that deep healing aspect to it. It still can be very healing, but like you said, it's not gonna be your deepest, darkest secrets or anything like that. But if you are somebody who is just looking for that more deeper experience, that's where a one-on-one session with one of us would be way more recommended then. But
okay.
Thank you guys for sitting down with us today. I know it was a little bit of a shorter one. We just wanted to talk about that a little bit, because a lot of people have questions on why would I go to a group one and not a a one-on-one one, or why do a one-on-one when I could just go to a group. So they're two completely different types of readings and energies. So I would definitely say try it out at least once. Like I said, we do it monthly. We do usually try to do one every holiday season around Christmas time. That is actually free, donation based, just to kind of give back to our clients and to just give back for the spirit world, to continue to serve the spirit world and share, because the holiday times are times that are harder for people who have lost loved ones. So we do them monthly. You can definitely check out either one of our websites, kayleemarie.net or carolanmedium.com, or just contact us. Check out our social medias and what we're posting. And if you feel like a group event isn't something for you, we still have those amazing one-on-ones. So thank you.
Thank you.